grandfather and your father, hi Dinesh, how are you?
Hello.
Your father and your grandfather were both anti-colonialists.
They were.
Okay.
I came of age in post-independence India, so I understand this ideology very well.
And it has nothing to do with race or anything else.
The British didn't come to India because we were brown, and they came to India to conquer land, to rule.
Okay.
Racism was incidental to this.
Okay. So, in your book, The Roots of Obama's Rage, you say it solves these questions. Because remember, America, when we were talking and we said, which one are we at? Okay. Remember when we said, the Winston Churchill bust, what was the president thinking? How could he take a gift that was given to us by England after 9/11, and when he first meets the Prime Minister, he says, by the way, we don't need this anymore, you can take it back. And the Prime Minister of England says, no, 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 that was a gift from the English people. And what happened? He said, that's okay, we don't want it. He boxed it up and sent it back. That's one of the biggest slaps in the face, and nobody understood that. We tried to figure that out. How does this explain it?
The anti-colonial theory explains it very well. Most Americans think of Churchill as the guy who fought the Nazis. But Churchill is also a colonialist. He said, I don't want to be the prime minister who presides over the end of the British Empire. Churchill was the prime minister of Britain in the 1950s when there was an anti-colonial uprising in Kenya. It was called the Mau Mau Revolt. Churchill sent in crack troops. They smashed the revolt. Obama's father was arrested. His grandfather, Onyango Obama, was put in a detention camp. He was allegedly tortured. So my point is these anti-colonial wars are not academic wars. They are real wars. A lot of people got killed, and it had direct scars on Obama's family. So he has good reason to hate this man, Winston Churchill.
Now, it doesn't necessarily, you're not saying that you know for a fact. There's nothing in writing. All this stuff is fact. But there's, and the fact that under Churchill, Obama's grandfather and grandfather was tortured. Was father tortured too?
The father was not tortured, but he was arrested as a suspected sympathizer of the rebels. So yes, it is opinion. I guess what I'm saying is the theory is powerful if it has explanatory power, if it's able to account for facts.
Okay, got it. Lockerbie letter.
The Lockerbie letter is a letter sent by Obama secretly to the Scottish government saying it's okay to release Abdel Basset al-Megrahi, the Lockerbie bomber. Now why? From the anti-colonial point of view, if America is the rogue elephant, invading other countries, occupying Iraq, occupying Afghanistan, then Muslims who strike out against America are freedom fighters. They are resistors of American imperialism.
One man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. Now, this does not mean that he supports al-Qaeda or he is in any way supportive. He just has a different, for instance, how many of these people did you hear after 9/11 immediately? Well, you have to understand what we've done. You have to understand, and quite frankly, there is some point to that. It's like I'm trying to teach history and even the bad stuff because we have done things, everybody have done things that inflict trouble on people. But you're not claiming that he's in with a terrorist.
I'm not saying Obama approves of the downing of Pan Am.
Correct.
Not at all. I'm simply saying when you look at a guy who claims to be fighting American imperialism, Obama sees in him a fellow anti-colonialist. He probably says, this guy's like my dad. He's striking out against the Western, the American oppressor.
Okay. Don't agree with what he's done, but I can understand he's got some issues.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay, Afghan war.
The Afghan war. Remember that from the anti-colonial point of view, Afghanistan and Iraq are wars of colonial occupation. And what that means is that Obama's goal is to get out. He defines success by withdrawal. Notice that he doesn't like to use the word victory. He defines success by getting out. And so I don't think he cares if the Taliban comes in. That's secondary to him. The main issue is we got to get out.
Okay. Nuclear Iran kills me because we have only got about a minute. So let me just go through this quick. Nuclear Iran they don't have a problem with them having nukes. It's just us having nukes. The U.S. energy consumption and tax the rich. Can you explain those real quick?
Certainly. The issue with Obama here is not the Al Gore agenda of is the earth getting hotter, is it getting colder. Basically, Obama wants to decrease U.S. energy consumption so we have less, so the previously colonized countries have more. That's why he puts a moratorium on oil drilling in America while subsidizing oil drilling in Brazil, and the Brazil are selling some of that oil to the Chinese.
Got it. And tax the rich.
Tax the rich. Obama keeps talking about the fair share. The rich should pay their fair share. Now, government data show that the rich today, the top 10%, are paying about 70% of all income taxes. But that's not enough. Obama thinks they should pay more. How much more? He never says. But see, the anti-colonial assumption, which we can trace back to his dad, is that when you have stolen your wealth, if you come to my house and take my furniture, what's the correct tax rate for you? 100%, because it's not your furniture. So when you look at wealth as greed and profiteering, as exploitation, then there's no limit to how much you can tax the rich.
Morally.
Morally.
So that shows how he can honestly say, and you can understand his motives, and honestly say, he doesn't think he's being evil. He doesn't think he's doing wrong. He thinks he's doing good. Because morally speaking, this is all stolen wealth.
This is the key point. Obama is not anti-American in that he wishes ill on America. He wants what's best for America. He thinks it's really bad for us to be a colonial power. And therefore, in his view, he is doing right for America by pulling us out, by knocking us off our pedestal, by, in a sense, taking us from being the world's arrogant superpower. He wants us to share the wealth. He thinks he's going to get a better America. The problem is he's stuck in this theory. He's frozen in this time machine. In a sense, he's the captive of the ideology of a Luo tribesman from the 1950s.
Okay.
It's an incredible idea.
All right, America, I'm telling you, this is the best theory that I have heard. This to me rings true. In the end, it may not be, but we have to have a debate, not on the facts, but on the opinions. Does that fit? They will try to make sure that you don't believe any of these facts because of the opinion he draws from them. You must read this book because you will finally understand it this is my current understanding, as I think I finally do. Dinesh, thank you very much. The book, Roots of Obama's Rage. Pick it up now. The president and the entire left are trying to recapture their 2008 magic of hope and change. But George Bush is no longer in the White House and Barack Obama is. And so things are presenting a problem. The fact that they saw you show up by the hundreds of thousands on 8/28, the hundreds of thousands, all underneath the trees, that shook them to their core. They are now playing defense. They're freaked out. So they know they have to energize their voting base again. And this is where the leaves begin to change. And we could be entering winter or we could be going right to spring. They're putting on a rally this weekend. A rally, by the way, that requires mandatory attendance for at least some union members. Listen to this.
Are your members doing this because they have to or they want to?
My members are doing this for both reasons. They have to and they want to. They're ready for a fight.
They have to and they want to because they're ready for a fight. Wow. I don't remember forcing anybody to come to 8/28, and I said, leave your signs and everything else at home. This isn't about fighting. This is about becoming more like Martin Luther King or Gandhi. But look, this is what is coming your way. This is one nation coming together. Is this your nation? The Young Communist League, the International Socialist Organization, all the labor unions, National Action Network, No Justice, No Peace, the Peace and Freedom Party that's running, I believe, a convicted killer, Jeremiah Wright's church. I mean, this, really, is this it? Communist, socialist, and radicals. That's not name-calling. That is a fact. It's all right here on their own websites, and they are all proudly standing with the president, and the president is proudly standing with them. I can't stand with these people. Can you? I mean, I give them their right for freedom of speech. I wish them no harm. But I can't stand because their principles and values represent the destruction of America, the intentional destruction of America. Communism, socialism are not compatible with the Constitution of the United States. They have called some of these groups for violent revolution. They want globalization, the redistribution of wealth. They want a government that is totally immersed in your life. Now that is a fact. That's not opinion. That is a fact. Now that's not what I believe in. I don't think it's what you believe in. It's not America. 70% of Americans, when it just comes to something simple as tax and the size of government, there was a new poll out that says 70% of Americans think that raising taxes would be a mistake. 70%. Lower taxes, smaller government. If seeing this, and seeing who's putting this together, if it doesn't get your neighbors to the polls on November 2nd, I don't know what will. If they're not energized or motivated to energize others, the republic will be lost. The America that we love, the America that we have known, good, bad, and ugly, it's up for the taking. The president keeps warning his base that if the GOP wins in this election, it will stop his agenda and will go back to the policies of the past. Unfortunately, he's right in some regard. We will go back to the policies of past, but I'd like to go back to the real past, to smaller government, where we encouraged each other to help each other out, where we encouraged each other to invent and create. Less intrusion, less spending, an end to corruption. There's always been corruption, there will always be corruption, and there will always be the poor among us. But it is our job to do a better job each and every day to help the poor and punish those who are corrupt. These are not the policies that got us into the mess the big government politicians like to claim. Not those. No, the progressive policies of the past, of both the Republicans and the Democrats. The policies of an out-of-control, spendthrift, big government mindset from both parties that got us into this. They spent like madmen. Let's not forget, the Democrats have held the reign of power in Congress since 2006. In 2005, in Iraq, the people inked their fingers. They inked their fingers to show that they voted. Every single person who voted was threatened. Their lives were threatened. And yet they went into the polls in Baghdad, 95% voted, and they put their finger in purple ink. Now, that was, we get stickers. Well, I can leave and take my sticker off. They couldn't take the purple ink off. For days, they were in danger. We've had a voter turnout in some places of 35%. The average for the last midterm was 38. We are facing the worst threat. We may stand in line for 20 minutes with someone trying to sell you Amway products, or I don't know. Just, you know, somebody's like, oh, I got to tell you something, you know. But nobody's threatened our lives. Have you called your neighbor yet? Have you volunteered at a nursing home or a community center to help people get registered and tell people to vote? I'm not telling you who to vote for. I don't care if it's a Republican or a Democrat or an independent. Find someone you believe more than the other. They're doing it. These people are professional organizers. Look at the rally on Saturday. If you're still not convinced of the critical juncture to which we have arrived, I'll show you in a second why you need to be. If you remember the movie The Sting, you'll understand this real well. America is going through a similar situation. We are being played right now. Watch the color of the trees because the leaves are changing. They think you're just too stupid to realize it, but you're not. They think that they can play you yet again, but they can't. Listen to this from Senator Robin Carnahan. Listen to this.
We're going to also have a Libertarian and a Constitution Party candidate running. And I will tell you, no one's going to know who they are, but it's not going to matter because Glenn Beck says you're supposed to be for the Constitution.